save it.
No, you buy stuff with it.
I put it in my piggy bank.
You can like buy a house, save it to buy your car,
Give it to charity. Save it for college.
put them in the bank.
It won't always be new. It won't always be clean. It won't always be flawless. But it'll always be yours. So how do you know it'll be protected? To solve the big challenges of tomorrow, take simple steps today. When you're ready to start, we're ready to help with auto insurance. Get started at countryfinancial.com/simple-steps.
You know, you see fires on TV all the time. You don't understand what the families are really going through until you've lived it. You're just standing there literally watching everything that you knew as your childhood, just the love in your home, and it's just going up in flames and there's nothing you can do about it.
I asked her, in the event that there was a tragedy or something happened, how would they rebuild? What would they do? And I think that's when it registered with her that they wouldn't be able to.
My parents had no mortgage, so they thought they needed no insurance. This was the time that we needed it. I just would have never dreamed. Thank goodness for Judy. She convinced me that we needed homeowners insurance. The morning after the fire, I called Judy. And she's like, you don't worry about a thing.
So I got up to the Ramey household. I sat with her mom, and she cried. I cried. But I told her that things were going to be okay. Country would take care of her.
Judy and Country Financial were 100% put into our lives for a reason. We could have never afforded to build back another home like Country Financial has built. And I'm so thankful for that, truly. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cheryl Williams, and I'm with Country Financial. And we're back again this week to further discuss more auto insurance coverage and some definitions and just helping you decide what coverage you need on your automobile and hopefully help you understand a little bit better what it is that you have or what you're about to purchase. Last week we looked at 5 types of coverage, and we just kind of briefly talked about liability coverage that protects you if you cause damage to others or someone else's stuff. It's when you're at fault, the liability. Collision coverage covers your car if you hit another car, person, or a non-moving object. So if you hit another car, or like we've seen recently in the news, cars going through buildings, that person needs to make sure they had collision coverage. Comprehensive coverage protects your car from things like, other than liability and collision, like theft, vandalism, fire, severe weather, if you hit a deer, just things that are kind of out of the norm that happen to your car. That's what's covered by your comprehensive. And so we talked briefly about those things last week. Today I'd like to just spend a little bit of time just focusing on comprehensive auto coverage. It's part of a standard policy, and just knowing when to have comprehension only or when you definitely need it or don't need it is something I just want to go through today and kind of pick it apart a little bit. In the state of Illinois, there's minimum coverages that are required if you own an automobile. And if right now you look at your policy and you have minimum coverages for the state, just understand that that minimum coverage is probably not enough to protect you if you have some type of collision or accident where you're at fault. So you want to make sure that you have more than just the state minimum required coverages on your insurance, because it's what the state is saying at minimum you have to have, and it is minimum, and it will minimally cover you. So don't question if someone offers you minimum coverage. You need to question that. So your first coverage that you want to have above the state minimum requirements, you want to look at your comprehensive coverage. This coverage, like we said, it protects you against all kinds of physical damage to your vehicle. And there are certain names, they may not call it comprehensive in your policy, so here's a couple other names that it might be called. It might be called comp. It might be called other than collision. It might be called storage insurance. It might be called fire and theft insurance. So I've seen some policies from other companies, and they have fire and theft. That would be considered comprehensive coverage. The cost of just having comprehensive on your insurance could be one of the least expensive parts of your policy. And sometimes people say, well, I just have an older vehicle and I just want to make sure that if something happens to it, that it's covered. The car's not moving anywhere, it's parked, it's undrivable. So really the comprehensive is to say, if something were to happen to that vehicle, a tree falls on it, or something unusual happens to it, that this is what's being covered under comprehensive. Windshield damage is covered under comprehensive. The only thing you want to make sure with windshield damage is that comprehensive has a deductible attached to it. And depending on the deductible that you choose, you're going to be paying out of pocket first before the insurance policy pays its part. So if you have a $500,000 deductible and it doesn't cost that much to replace or repair your windshield, then again, that won't necessarily cover that windshield. So comprehensive will do the repair, but you'll have to pay the deductible first. Sometimes there's other coverages in a policy that handle just windshield damage, and you might want to look at that. With Country Financial, our windshield coverage does not have a deductible. It is another coverage that you have to add to your policy. But if you live where I live, with a lot of construction on the road and rocks hitting your windshield practically every day as you're driving through construction, you might want to consider just getting coverage that protects your windshield. Comprehensive coverage, there's benefits to having it. Like I said, it could save you thousands of dollars out of your pocket in expenses. And comprehensive all by itself you can have. The thing you can't have all by yourself on a policy is collision. You can have comp and collision together, but you can't have collision only. You have to have comprehensive. So comprehensive is that nice in-between coverage. Everybody wants that because it's a total protection of something happening to your vehicle. If you don't want to pay for every single thing in a policy, comprehensive will probably cover what you need, other than you hitting another car. There's a question that some people ask, will your home insurance cover your car? That is something that I think people think your home insurance will cover if your car is parked in your garage or in your driveway of your home. Usually on a home policy, if you're going to cover something extra other than the home itself, that's something that needs to be added to the home policy. But again, comprehensive coverage on your automobile will cover your car if it is garaged, stored, or not moving. That's the coverage. And it's fairly inexpensive. So you want to ask your agent about comprehensive. We want to look at full coverage. Again, a misnomer with most insurances that people understand when they say, I have full coverage. What does that mean? It gets tossed around. And we just want to understand when people say full coverage, what is it that they mean? So some people interpret it differently. If your agent is checking and saying, we're going to give you full coverage and everything is ready to go, you want to make sure, what they're considering to be full coverage. Usually, when a state gives state minimum requirements for your auto, they're including bodily injury, meaning if someone is injured in a collision or some type of contact with a vehicle, that there's bodily injury coverage for the person who's injured. There's property damage coverage for any property that you may damage with your vehicle. That's typically included in a state minimally required coverage. Comprehensive is going to cover that physical damage for everything that happens to your vehicle other than a collision. And full coverage, when they say full coverage, it can't be possible without comprehensive. Fire, theft, vandalism, storm damage, hitting a deer, windshield, all of that is part of comprehensive and is part of what would be called full coverage. Collision coverage, we talked a little bit last week about collision, and that's your broadest protection. It's always included in a full coverage auto insurance. Collision covers your vehicle regardless of what causes damage. Collision coverage, damage for all accidents, since collision, again, can't be purchased without comprehensive. You have to have both of them, but you want to make sure that your collision is the coverage you need for when you hit another vehicle. Policies will also have medical coverage or personal injury protection, and this is something that you want to have, again, because you don't want to go in your pocket to pay for injury, hospitalization, emergency room for someone who's injured. You want your policy to have a coverage that will pay out for that in case that is needed in a collision. And again, you're looking at what would be the normal cost for a doctor's visit, a ER visit, x-rays, things like that. Your insurance wants to be able to pick up that coverage. So personal injury protection provides at a level what is required to reimburse someone for medical expenses that they incur. Sometimes there's extras that you would think would be included but aren't included in what they would call full coverage. And roadside assistance. that's something you have to select. That's an extra on any policy. It's not generally included in your standard policy. It's something you have to choose and you have to pay extra for. So you want roadside assistance. You want to be able to have towing or some type of tire assistance repair, but your battery needs to be jumped. You need that assistance in your policy, but you're going to have to pay a little bit more for that to be added. Uninsured motorists, underinsured motorist coverage, you want that coverage to be the same as your liability protection. You want to be the same for that uninsured. Uninsured is important because if you're out driving and you have an accident or collision with someone who doesn't have insurance, or their insurance is severely under what your insurance is, you're going to end up paying out of pocket for that accident or collision. If you don't have uninsured motorist, again, this is an optional coverage that you have to select in order to have it as part of your coverage. There's GAP insurance. I've had people ask me about that, and that's when you buy a vehicle new. Requesting full coverage does not include GAP insurance. GAP insurance is what you need to request to be added, and if you have a new car, an agent should ask you if you need that. Don't assume that GAP insurance is automatically included in a full coverage policy. And again, GAP insurance is you have a lien on that new automobile, and if something happens and that automobile is totaled, you are still liable for paying that loan. And the GAP insurance is to help you in paying that loan. Towing, having your vehicle towed to somewhere to be repaired is not an automatic part of a policy that's full coverage. You have to add that and pay for that. Car rental, while your car's being repaired and you need to have a car to drive and you want a rental vehicle, and your coverage, your insurance policy will pay for a rental, you have to add that coverage also. These are what's called endorsements. You have to add them to the policy in order to have that coverage. And again, like I said, the full glass coverage is also an optional coverage that you must add. There's a thing called vanishing deductible that some companies offer. It's a confusing term, but just be aware that this coverage usually does not automatically come with a full coverage policy. A vanishing deductible is typically offered for an additional cost and would need to be added to your policy before you incur a loss, not after. So be careful when they say full coverage or they offer you full coverage. Just understand that that term doesn't necessarily include all the things I just told you about. So you want to make sure that you ask enough questions of your insurance agent to make sure that, you know, if they say you're fully covered, what actually does that mean? What's included? We talked a little bit about collision there. Let's talk about hail damage. That's something that happens frequently around here, and lately we've had a lot of hail in our weather that has damaged not only automobiles, but it damages your home. And we're not here to talk about home insurance, but and we'll talk about that later on. Hopefully in July we'll get into the home. But when you're having weather, unpredictable storms, things that wreak havoc, you want to make sure that you have coverage for hail that may be damaging or pummeling your car, leaving dents and things like that. The cost to repair hail damage to your car can be pretty expensive and usually is spread around the entire vehicle. So let's look and see how the hail damage would be covered. If you have liability only on your car insurance, you would not be covered for hail damage. Hail and storm damage is covered under what's listed, like we were talking about earlier, under your comprehensive coverage on the vehicle. And again, you can choose comprehensive or not choose comprehensive, but just understand if you do not choose it, what you're losing in terms of coverage. That hail damage would not be covered if you do not have comprehensive coverage on your automobile. So, our focus today was comprehensive, and I'm just kind of trying to point out different things that you want to make sure you have comprehensive on your vehicle. And understanding also that the deductible, you can choose what the deductible is. The trend now in insurance is for deductibles to be very high, and a tip is that the higher the deductible, the lower the premium. So if you have a low deductible, say a $250 deductible or a $500 deductible, just understand that that's factoring into your premium. It's giving you an increased premium rate. If you give yourself a higher deductible, meaning your out-of-pocket expense is a little bit higher, not only is that going to deter you from filing small little nuisance claims, is what they're kind of called, because insurance, I like to explain this to customers, insurance is really designed to help you when you have a catastrophic event happen to you. And it's not really designed for the little small dings and things that happen. If you do a little shopping and price shopping on repairing vehicles for little things that maybe can be repaired without filing an insurance claim, you're probably better off doing that than filing a claim. Not only will the small claims add up and begin to make your insurance premium increase, but again, having that higher deductible will deter you from that, because you're going to have to pay $1,000, $2,000 out of your pocket first to repair your vehicle before the insurance kicks in. So what you want is to be able to say, I have a great policy that's going to cover me if something catastrophic happens to me. The financial advisor in me would say that if you have a high deductible, what you want to do is have a savings off to the side that you're pouring money into on a monthly basis that's just for your deductible. Just in case something happens, you have that little fund that's sitting over there that's going to pay that deductible. So in your financial planning, in your budgeting, you need to have a little fund that's sitting over to the side that you're contributing something to every month, $50, $100, something that's going in there, so that if something does happen to you, that you know you have that money set aside to pay that deductible. But you're going to save money on a monthly, quarterly, semi-annual basis on your premium if you have a higher deductible on your policy. So just some words of advice in terms of when you are putting your policy together. Your car is totaled. You just want to make sure that you have comprehensive as a part of your policy. I know for country, we do offer an additional coverage for cars that are 3 years old and younger. We call it the Keeper. And basically it's a really nice addition. It does cost a little bit extra. But say your car is totaled and you have to buy a whole brand new automobile, and you still have the loan that you're paying on that automobile. The Keeper on a car, again, 3 years old and younger, that falls within the criteria, Country will replace that automobile for you. Same make, same year, same model. They'll replace that car for you. And other companies have other things that they call that kind of coverage. You really want to ask, are you really going to replace the entire car? Is only a percentage of the car's value, cost, or worth? Or are you going to really give me another automobile? You just want to make sure that when you're signing up, that you understand what it is you're signing up for. So being totaled is no fun. I've had that happen to myself a few times. And if you have to pay on a monthly basis for a car that you no longer have, you'll understand the value of looking at what can I have in my policy that protects me in case that happens. I think we're coming to the end of everything that I wanted to review in terms of comprehensive today. I want you to join me in a couple of weeks after the 4th of July week, where we'll start to talk about coverages that are connected to home insurance, because we're coming to the end of the season where people are buying homes and purchasing homes, and the rates are really great if you're out looking and hunting for homes right now. So I know that a lot of my realtor friends are having a great time with their selling right now. And for the buyer, you're getting a great interest rate right now. So if you're looking to purchase a home, this is the time to do it. The rates are favorable for you. And when you need home owners insurance, think of me. Think of Country Financial. Think of the company that's ranked number 2 on the J.D. Power for claims satisfaction with its customers. That's Country Financial. We do our customers proud when it comes to claim filing and claim paying. So when it comes to choosing a company that you can count on that's solid, we've been around for almost 90 years as a company. We're not your company that's advertising a lot on TV. We don't have the commercials out there that are you're constantly seeing. But we are a good quality company, very financially secure. And that's the kind of company you want insuring you, because that company will be able to follow through on their claims when you need them the most. So next 2 weeks, you will come back and we'll discuss further insurance when it comes to buying home owner's insurance. What is it that you want to make sure you have in that homeowner's policy? And what are things that you want to make sure for closing on a home, that you have a company that can help you with that, give you exactly what you need for that home closing, respond quickly when that's needed. We'll talk about that in 2 weeks. I thank you for giving me your time and your attention today, and hopefully I said something to you that will help you in making your insurance buying decision. Cheryl Williams with Country Financial. We'll see you in a few weeks.
You save it.
So you buy stuff with it.
I put it in my piggy bank.
You can buy a house, save it to buy your car.
Give it to charity. Save it for college. Put them in the bank.
It won't always be new. It won't always be clean. It won't always be flawless. But it'll always be yours. So how do you know it'll be protected? To solve the big challenges of tomorrow, take simple steps today. When you're ready to start, we're ready to help with auto insurance. Get started at countryfinancial.com/simple-steps.
You know, you see fires on TV all the time. You don't understand what the families are really going through until you've lived it. You're just standing there literally watching everything that you knew as your childhood, just the love in your home, and it's just going up in flames and there's nothing you can do about it.
I asked her, in the event that there was a tragedy or something happened, how would they rebuild? What would they do? And I think that's when it registered with her that they wouldn't be able to.
My parents had no mortgage, so they thought they needed no insurance. This was the time that we needed it. I just would have never dreamed. Thank goodness for Judy. She convinced me that we needed homeowners insurance. The morning after the fire, I called Judy, and she's like, "You don't worry about a thing."
So I got up to the Ramey household. I sat with her mom, and she cried. I cried. But I told her that things were going to be okay. Country would take care of her.
Judy and Country Financial were 100% put into our lives for a reason. We could have never afforded to build back another home like Country Financial has built, and I'm so thankful for that, truly. Thank you so much.
You save it.
No, you buy stuff with it.
I put it in my piggy bank.
You can like buy a house, save it to buy your car.
Give it to charity. Save it for college. Put them in the bank.
It won't always be new. It won't always be clean. It won't always be flawless. But it'll always be yours. So how do you know it'll be protected? To solve the big challenges of tomorrow, take simple steps today. When you're ready to start, we're ready to help with auto insurance. Get started at countryfinancial.com/simple steps.